All right, episode 23, question and answer, members only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Members only podcast. Is this a podcast? Vlog?
I say it's a podcast.
I thought podcasts were audio only.
We're going to start ripping them to audio.
Yeah, they originally started as audio only, but you can get a video for almost any podcast now. I don't know. I don't really watch them because I'm usually listening to them when I'm driving.
Yeah.
But I think so, and I think we're going to try to do more because since we have this space, we might as well, and then we can make little clips and stuff to go public facing.
I don't even
know what yet.
I don't even listen to podcasts anymore. Everybody who has a podcast that I listen to,
you like know them already.
They're already on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm just always on the YouTube platform, so that's where I watch them.
So for me, it's the service issue. Like I spend most of my drive with zero cell service, so I have to have something downloaded, so it's easier.
No, I understand. Yeah, my service is pretty good now that we have Starlink on the property here, so I can work out on the property and still have service. But like when we go to Clarksville, which is the drive you take, if we have a video playing already,
it'll stay.
It's buffered a few minutes ahead, so we're still catching the zones. All right, Derek Olson, do you think there's more continents than what they say is on our globe? If there is a lot more land outside of the Antarctic ice wall, is there a lot more? Your videos are awesome. Your time spent making them is worthwhile, and I appreciate that you and Amanda work hard every day to make the best gear. Also, I would like to mention that I have not received a text from SOE since mid-December, so that is very strange because I heard on the live tonight you mentioned a text went out today and did not receive it. Okay, so like Amanda said, that's been handled. You had 3 different accounts. You've only purchased things on one account. I don't know what the issue is.
The issue was with his phone provider. Him and I had a discussion about it this morning. It's been fixed. It's handled.
Cool.
If I'm not mistaken, though, too, if they're not active, I know this for the email. If they're not active, then it goes away.
So the text does not work that way. The text, like I send out 30,000 3,000 texts, and I get replies from maybe about 100 people, but I know everybody else is still getting the text because I see the purchases come through. So even though they're not reacting to it, they're still getting them. Yeah. Maybe that's the deal. But
we'll get dudes that'll say like shitty stuff every time.
I've had dudes like
so we'll find them and I'll cancel their order and they'll be like, I didn't want my order canceled. I go, maybe you should have fucking thought that there might be repercussions to your words, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking? I go, all the fucking replies you send to the text, and they always go, well, I didn't know anybody was getting them. Then why did you type them out?
Yeah.
Why did you do it then?
What did you think you were going to get out of that?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
at the very end, if nobody noticed, or if nobody ever sees it, Amanda at least always puts her name, but sometimes puts like something funny.
Yeah, like, yes, I'm a real person.
Yeah.
Yes, I read every one of these.
So
if anybody is having issues with the text app, send me an email to my email with your phone number, and I will look at the backside, because a lot of the time what it is there's a setting that your phone provider has now changed, and now you have a spam box, or, they're limiting your marketing texts, or, there's all kinds of different things going on right now. So I can look at the back end and tell you, yeah, it's on our end, or yeah, it's on your end.
You're going to see more of this happening. It's that business. It's like your SIC code. The credit card companies have gone through and classified all these companies, firearms, ammunition, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So as you see companies that you deal with a lot that might be considered kind of in the firearms industry, that's probably us. We haven't even looked to see, but you will start seeing that merge into your ability to communicate with them. Like your credit card companies, there's people all over the internet and forums right now saying, hey, I went to buy a gun, or I went to buy ammo and my credit card declined. It wouldn't take it. It's because of how those businesses, it's that 3-digit code that they have in there. And you'll start to see that happen. It'll merge, right? You never would have thought that they would have just shut down a sitting president, or any of these people, right? And it's about punishing them. And you're starting, like Jordan Peterson right now, you're seeing it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Peterson just retweeted something of somebody that was critical of Trudeau and a couple of the other state representatives. And the governing body of psychology in Canada has summoned him to stand before the board. Mm-hmm. They want to pull his license, and his other choice is he can go to retraining for social media, right? He can take this class and participate and go through retraining of social media. The Nazis did that, right? They had retraining. All these places. You see it in China right now.
That's
we send you to retraining.
China.
And you really need to, well, that doesn't matter. I don't care about that, right, John? That's not here. You need to watch that, because that is the playbook. The same people pulling the strings all over the world control Australia and Canada. And there's a lot of people in Canada. I was talking to a guy the other night that I speak to a bit on Instagram through direct messaging. And he had said, he goes, yeah, you got to make sure you keep your firearms. I go, yeah, if you want to see what's coming in the United States, just look at what's happening in Canada and Australia. And he's like, oh, I am in Canada. And I said, oh, I had no idea, man. He goes, yeah, but what people don't hear, if you watch the main media, you would think Canada has said, hey, you can't transfer these guns. There's no more guns. Everybody turn in your guns. You can't have pistols. He's like, that's 10% of Canada. 90% of Canada hasn't done anything, and 50% of Canada straight said, fuck you, we're not doing that.
Well, that's good to hear.
And that's kind of how the United States is. If you look at the maps of where the red and blue cities are, the Democrats only fucking hold 15-20% of the fucking landmass of the United States, and it's in those
major cities.
It's in those major crazy cities. But that's who governs and fucking dictates. So be aware of it. Have a plan for it coming, but just don't participate in it. Just like, fuck them, whatever, right? It's fun to talk about. Now, Derek, do I think there's other land masses? I do think that. If you look at old globes and you look at old maps and old cartography, there is definitely other land masses up there. And it's also continents before they split, right? Mm-hmm. Tartaria is what I think you mentioned, that's what you're getting at. Now, there's some talk of where Tartaria actually was and what it was, right? And a lot of it looks like it was in Turkey, or what is now Turkey. There was a lot of persecution of Christians, and Christians went underground, and this has happened all through history. There are cities underground around Turkey and all those areas right there that literally have 20,000 chambers in them. And then there's other major cities, because a lot of that is it's pumice, it's volcanic material, and it was easy to tunnel through. But there are entire cities that are just hundreds of miles of underground cities in these areas. And the thought is that they all tie together in somehow. So once you're in one, you can continue to travel. It's just like if you watch any of these movies or any of the prep or fiction stuff, you have the loyalists, and then you have us, right? The loyalists, the yes men, they're going to report everybody and just, support the government. And then you have the people that kind of pretend to, but they're not. They're there just for waiting for, something to come together, and you have to hide, right? And that's what that shit was. So Tartaria, yeah, you also, if you're asking me about Tartaria, you probably have looked at free energy and mud flood, and you've looked at, giants and all that stuff. Giants were spoke about all through history up until about the 1950s.
I think there were giants in the Bible.
There were giants in the Bible. But they're all over the place, all through history. Abraham Lincoln spoke about him and spoke about giants in speeches. There's pictures in New York Times of what looks to be normal human beings with giants. And then there's other people who are like, no, the giants are actually our size, and they were actually smaller human beings. But there's over 200 mentions in the New York Times of giants. Free energy. Look up anything on Tesla. Mm-hmm. He had all these patents for all this shit. Now you can apply for a patent, and a lot of Einstein worked in a patent office, so he was actually stealing patents. So I mean, there could be some shit to that stuff, but it looks like it's definitely there. The question is, why is it? I mean, look at look at the asshole that went around to all the Buzz Aldrin and all the astronauts, right? And he's like, here's a Bible. Will you put your hand and swear you went to the moon? At some point, I mean, if you tell me I have to do something, I'm going to do the exact opposite because I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of it. But at some point, you would think they'd be like, why wouldn't they just put their hand on the Bible and go, yeah, we went to the moon? And he's like, here's $5,000. Here, take this, put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you went to the moon. None of them would do it. But then at the same time, there's footage of little girls asking them, well, maybe they didn't know the camera was going, or maybe mom was recording it. And they were like, why didn't we go back to the moon? And the astronauts are like, we never went to the moon.
So I saw that, and my first thought was, this is an old man.
Right.
And do we know exactly what he's trying to say? Because we, look at our president now. Do we really know what he's saying?
Well, and how did they piece that together? Like, did they cut that up and put it together?
Exactly.
Or was that the video in its entirety?
Okay, well, let's swipe that aside. When they came back from the moon, they were sitting on national television, completely contradicting one another.
Yep.
Like, if you look at any of that shit, look at the Admiral Byrd stuff. When Admiral Byrd came back from the expedition, all the shit he said, like UFOs, other aliens, it's actually it's a tropical, there's a whole civilization. They entrusted that dude with fucking naval aircraft, naval ships, and thousands of U.S. personnel, right? And he's going to come back and say that, and they're going to be like, oh, no, he's crazy. He wasn't crazy fucking 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So who fucking knows, man?
I don't remember who said what, but I think one of the big ones is when they're debriefing the astronauts, one of them said that you could see all the stars and it's beautiful, and the other one was like, I didn't see any stars at all. And these were they shared a spaceship together, so it's not like they saw two different things.
Yeah, who fucking knows, man?
Yeah.
And we can talk about it. I mean, it's the X-Files, right? When I was a kid, I always watched the X-Files, loved it. It was very entertaining, made you think some things. Maybe it was actually programming. But, I mean, all the insidious shit that was on the X-Files, like your government's doing these things to these people and these experiments. And then you come to find out they really were doing all those things, right? But
it's definitely easier to believe. I mean, there's proof, but it's easier to believe that the U.S. government was experimenting on humans like they would in Nazi Germany,
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we brought all those doctors here. They continued all that shit. But, I mean, it's important to look at that as entertainment. Mm-hmm. If we can have the conversation a little bit, and it's fun, but you'll never know the truth. Even if it was right here in front of you, you wouldn't know the truth.
Yeah.
But there are maps and there are globes, and there's just, there's John Wayne movies where they mention Tartaria. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's something to it. It's been around this long, there's something there for sure.
The other thing is there isn't anything you can do about it, and you can't change it.
Correct. Are you living in a city?
And
then
does it,
you don't
does
have
it
time
really
for this.
affect you?
Exactly.
Do you have a garden? You don't have time for this, right? If you don't have your shit taken care of. I was going to talk about this later, but I'll go ahead and say this, right? I keep saying eggs are $8 a dozen, right? Why do I know eggs are $8 a dozen? Because you guys keep telling me eggs are $8 a dozen. I haven't physically seen. I guess we did. We walked through our Walmart a week ago, middle of the night. All the eggs are gone. There were no eggs. Mm-hmm. And eggs are way up. And I'm like, okay, for $8 a dozen, maybe I would deal with the public and sell eggs for $8 a dozen. Why? Well, because feed's up, right? Feed's not 14 a bag, it's 28 a bag, right? Okay, feed costs more. It's costing me more to fucking feed these chickens than the chickens are giving me, so I need to sell some of these eggs. But then, and I didn't have the verbiage for it until, I don't remember his name. He's like, never step over $1 to pick up a dime. And I go, that's it exactly. That is the term right there. Because in the time I'm going to take to pull the eggs, because the people are only going to want clean eggs, right? Well, I want the bloom on them. Well, if you're getting a clean egg, you probably don't have the fucking bloom. Somebody cleaned that egg, and you need to use it within a week or two. It's not going to sit on the counter for fucking 60 days, right? When it comes out of the bird's asshole, that's actually called a cloaca. Here's a little science lesson for you. Birds,
it's very interesting to watch, too.
Birds, fish, and reptiles, they reproduce and defecate out of the same hole. There's not a separate opening for poo and pee or breeding, right? Those are called cloacas, and your chicken has a cloaca. And when the egg comes out, there is a slime. When you look at it, it's wet. If you've ever picked up an egg, like I've been pulling eggs, and you'll hear a chicken just going crazy, and you'll open the egg box back up and there's a fresh egg, or you'll even see her having the egg. And when you pick it up, it's kind of wet and it's very warm. That is called a bloom, that's slime. And what it does is it covers the egg from any bacteria or anything, and it will sit for 6 weeks on the counter with that on there. If you wash that egg, if you took 12 eggs and you washed half of them really good and got them all shiny and clean, and then you left those other ones and you put them just in boxes separate on the counter, side by side, same conditions, the eggs that you washed are going to go bad much, much faster.
Oh, yeah.
Weeks, months even faster than the ones with the bloom on them. So I'm going to sell these eggs, right? So now I have to clean them. I've got to box them. I've got to fucking deal with people. I have to have the conversation. If it's worth them coming here to get $8 eggs, I should probably have some other little jellies and things I can sell them, right up, sell them so that they're here and we're making. Why don't I just go on the internet? Why don't I just go on social media and take a picture of, I don't know, I've got 3 medical vehicle med bags. We built like 100 vehicle med bags. There's only 3 left. I could do a social media post, and I could video it in 15 seconds, put some verbiage, use the hashtags, put it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, MeWe, right? And I'm going to sell all 3 of them. But even if I sold one, I have made the money to cover the cost of the feed that is elevated, and I know I don't have to deal with human beings. It's always that, right? I always love the development and showing how you can do these things. But I mean, I have a job where I can sit I can sit every night on a sewing machine and build a product in a couple of hours that I'm going to get $1,000 for.
This actually happened to me this morning. It's weird that you brought this up because I always talk about how I don't know how much gas is because
it doesn't fucking matter. I was going to say that too.
I have to buy gas. It doesn't matter how much it is. It's what it is. But there's been so much talk about gas prices that I caught myself this morning. I was leaving, and I was like, oh, I got to go get gas. It's out of the way. I was like, no, it's not. There's a gas station. I passed like 10 gas stations on the way out of town, but the cheap one is out of the way. What am I doing wasting my time to save 5 cents?
Never use the cheap gas station.
So on the Hip Camden, Tennessee group, there's always outrage about the gas prices in Camden. So people will drive to Paris, which is 45 minutes.
Yeah.
One way.
For 2 cents. Yeah. For 2 cents.
For 2 cents.
And they're not filling like extra tanks. They have their 15.
And there's always in the comments, right? There's always, well, Benton County's losing so much tax revenue. Like, you motherfuckers give a shit about the fucking tax revenue. You motherfuckers you're not paying taxes on your welfare to Benton County.
Exactly.
Fucking turd.
But yeah, like, it got to me. I'm always like, don't waste your time trying to save money. Spend your time trying to make money.
That's what Pierre said. He's like, the answer is never, how do I save? And I do tell people, I'm like, when they're like, hey, I'm starting this, I'm like, all your money goes into the business. Mm-hmm. I can't do these things. Okay, well, what can you turn off? That's for poor. I say that to small-minded people, right? For dudes that are really making money and have the capability to make money, the answer is not how do I save money. The answer is how do I make more money? Because in the time in the time it would take me to call some places to turn some shit off, I could have made enough money to pay that fucking bill for the rest of the year in fucking 10 minutes.
And you can't save your way out of your financial situation. Like, you might have a little bit of extra money. You're never going to be rich by saving money. You know, you have to figure out a way to make more.
Right. And that's the deal. My friend Don sent me a video this morning, one of these prepper dudes, talking about pipelines down. And I looked at it for a minute, clicked on it, listened to them. I used to watch these guys all the time, and I realized they're all just saying the same thing. They make the same fucking video. And I go, that happened last week. And he goes, I just heard about it. I go, yeah, I don't know why all these dudes do this. I said, I think that they just build all this content, and then YouTube or their algorithm or whatever program they're using tells them to put it out on Wednesday. Well, it's already late. And the real deal, and then my friend said, he goes, yeah, that probably explains why gas went up 50 cents over the weekend. And I wanted to be like, don't you have 500 gallons of gas sitting at your house? Like, just like,
it's the first of the year. Of course it went up.
Like, don't you have, and I know he does. He's got a garden, a greenhouse. He's doing well. He's in a really cool area, right? But just to have the conversation, don't you have something that you could do today that would make you fucking $1,000?
Exactly.
Like I'm watching, and I said it last week too. I watch all these woodworking guys, right? And there's these dudes talking about these projects, and I'm like, man, I'm going to buy a couple shipping containers, and I'm going to put a wood shop in there, and we're going to put in these LED lights, and I'm going to get a sponsorship from the LED, and I'm going to do click-through links so I get affiliate marketing on them. All very viable, but the fact is I hate sawdust. I hate sand, right? I lived on the beach. When I tell you guys I lived on the beach,
yes,
I was so close to the beach that the beach came into the apartment complexes sometimes. Like people
came into the apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate fucking sand. Hate sand. I have a lot of dive time. I hate fucking sand. It was all concrete beach entry or, boat diving. I hate fucking sand. I hate sawdust. But I like watching these guys. Like I have pallets. We've built pallet walls. I have every tool I can. I could start a channel on just how to break down pallets, right? How to do it and save your money. Which tools work, which ones don't. The most expensive tools are not the best tools to break down pallets. But I was watching this dude's channel, and he takes these pallets and he just makes these little herringbone wall hangers, right? And he puts them up, and he's like, here they are on Etsy. These are $150. They've sold fucking 800 of these things. He's like, you can build this in literally without jigs or anything, with just a table saw or a chop saw. You could build these in about 15 minutes a piece, start to finish, everything. He's like, sell these. He's like, here's another one. You could go out in the woods. You could pick up sticks and twigs. You could take your pocket knife and whittle off some of the bark, clear coat them, screw them together, and put a wall hanger piece on them. And it's literally sticks. It's like 6 fucking sticks that fell off of trees. Yeah. He's like, these are $75. They've sold 5,000 of these things. Like, there's money everywhere. You just have to fucking connect it, right? And there's going to be dudes that are like, well, the post office doesn't have a box big enough. There's always an excuse and a reason.
Well, I don't have the right screwdriver.
There's always the dude that comes on the live feed and he's telling you all the shit you're talking about is shit and you should have this other thing. But in the same fucking Milwaukee's shit, pack out shit, all this is shit, this is shit, that's trash, you should have this thing, right? And it's always the inexpensive thing. And in the same conversation, I've never bought your gear because I can't afford it. Always that conversation, right? I'm like, well, why don't you work fucking Saturday and Sunday, right? Well, it's always that person, man.
It's the same guy who talks shit about having the cheap Porsche when they have, a Nissan,
Yeah.
Driving a Pinto.
Yeah.
Like, they're not, they're not in the same league, so it doesn't
They're not
matter.
even qualified to react on it.
They have no idea, and they have no concept, right? When I bought the Cayman, there was dudes like, that's the cheap Porsche. No, you're talking about the Boxster, number one. And number two, you don't own any of them. So it doesn't, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, I don't know who you are. You've only shown up 500 videos and you've only shown up for this one, right? And people don't have any concept. There is not enough. Porsche is a brand right now, like it's like Ferrari. There's not enough Porsches to fill the market. So when you go in and you want to buy, I think it's a 922, it's the GT3, right? The GT3 RS. They're all 911s, but none of them are model number 911 anymore. So you go in and you want to buy this, and the dealer's like, yeah, I've got 400 people on the list. We only got 5 allocations for these things. But the way you have to buy these is they want a long-term customer. They don't want it because you could literally buy one of these cars, and once it takes a year to get possession of it. Once you have the car, you could sell it for $100,000 more because rich guys don't want to wait.
Yep.
And they don't want to be customers. They just want the car for a little while, do photos, do video, whatever it is, right? Porsche wants people that are going to be customers. So the way you buy a Porsche right now, if you want one of these Highline cars, one of these allocation cars, you go in and they'll do a bridge deal with you, right? So it's going to take you a year to get this thing. You go in and go, hey, I know it's going to take a year to get this. I want you to get me one of these cars, GT2, GT3, whatever. And in the interim, I'm going to buy a 911 today. And maybe I'm going to buy my wife a Macan or a Panamera or something, right? Or a Cayenne. You literally go in and you buy 2 fucking cars today. And now you have that guy's attention because that dude knows you're not just some asshole that's going to flip this thing. And that's how people don't have a concept of how the world is right now. And it's been this way a while. That's why when we go get good service at a restaurant, I tip 50% minimum. Because anytime, no matter what's going on, I can walk in, I can call, hey, I'm going to be in there in an hour. Can I speak to so-and-so, right? Whoever our server is. And they're going to go to the manager and go, hey, this guy's coming in with 20, 30 people, or he's coming in, him and his wife, they don't have, there's always reservations. There's just not reservations for you. There's always that extra set aside, right? And that's why we do that, because I frequent places that get good service. And that's the thing with the cars, man. When you go in, I have a relationship with, I know Roger Everson's his name, Select Luxury Automotive. Come
on in.
Okay. When I said I wanted a Ferrari, he's like, I'll have you a Ferrari this weekend. I go, I want black stitching, red thread. He's like, ooh, yeah. That's going to take a few minutes. But he called me within 3 weeks, and he had the Ferrari with red stitching, right?
Yep. It's
because he knew that I was going to buy the fucking car. He knew when we came in, I bought 2 fucking cars in a day. Like, he knew that. And that's the whole thing, man. It's just how you look at things. You have to, people's perception of shit is not, they do not live in the real fucking world.
Well, I think it's hard to explain without coming off as like an asshole.
Come off like an asshole.
Speak the truth.
There's like the people who, it must be nice. Like they're renting a little apartment, blowing all of their money on bullshit, looking at people with nice shit and say, "Oh, it must be nice to be."
It's very nice.
Yes, it is.
It's very nice, and you know, it's because they're not willing. They're not willing to sleep on the floor of their fucking shop. They're not willing for 5 years of their fucking life to be nothing but this.
You have to do the hard shit. Like you have to fucking do the hard shit to get to that point. Like very few people are just handed this kind of stuff, right? The rest of us have to fucking work for it.
Who's been handed it?
Well, usually the people who've been handed it don't have it for very long.
Right,
either.
right. And they definitely don't appreciate it either.
Yeah, that's the deal, man.
Trying to tear us down,